And what's up, guys? Welcome back to another live weather update here. Kind of just doubling down on today's live weather updates with all the information currently coming out. And currently we got the first system starting to show some precipitation now across portions of southern Missouri into portions of southern Illinois. 1 second. And that is probably going to go into portions of Kentucky and into the Virginias overnight tonight into tomorrow. That's the first system here ejecting off to the east, where precipitation is going to start out across Missouri and southern Illinois. Maybe some freezing rain touching in a bit there with mixed precipitation. Sorry, guys. Can't clear my throat. So our system is going to be starting off in portions of Kansas, trying to get its moisture and everything together starting late tonight, and then kind of pushing off this way Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, and then eventually going into this area here starting Tuesday late night into Wednesday and then into Thursday, and then eventually making its way up into portions of UP of Michigan or portions of northern Michigan. This will be a very large system, so I expect all of this on this northern half here to be filled with either more watches or advisories, because it will be a very large system indeed. But these winter storm warnings already here being issued, like Kirksville, Missouri. They're talking about 5 to 10 inches with locally higher amounts possible. Same thing here across the Kansas City, Missouri area, 5 to 10 inches with locally higher amounts. And then you have the winter storm watches overall across this overall area, which, like I told you, I think the system is going to be pushing a little bit more further north and kind of tilting back with a negative tilt, more amplified trough. So I think that we're going to be seeing the system kind of going a little bit more further north at this point, right? Which would bring more watches and warnings like this all the way up here into portions of Wisconsin, and then obviously into this area. And I want to expect to see some advisories here on this southern part right here as well, where we could see some freezing rain or mixed precipitation. But we do have our winter storm watches here out now across this area, across portions of northern Indiana and northwest extreme Indiana. But like I said, there's going to be more advisories issued here across this area. They're basically watches saying 6 inches or more snow with the watch, so that will probably get updated to a warning late tonight or tomorrow morning, where we'll probably have warnings saying anywhere close to 10 inches or more. That's what I'm thinking. And then we're going to have snowfall rates of inch per hour plus during the Wednesday afternoon and evening commute. So it's going to be really probable travel impacts. I would expect delays in flights as well, coming in and out of O'Hare and Midway on probably Wednesday. So if you have flights coming in and out, I would probably reschedule those. Those will probably get rescheduled anyway on Wednesday afternoon and evening because they will not be flying in and out of this. And then obviously got watches across eastern Iowa, between 6 and 8 inches of snow. But when the warning gets upgraded, we'll probably be seeing 10 inches close. And they're already talking about, wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour or more, creating blowing and drifting snow, especially on east to west roads. Yep. Because our winds are going to be backed out of the north or northeasterlies at some point. So our east to west roads will definitely have some snow drifting and blowing and drifting snow. But even though if the system comes in more on the negative tilt side and our low pressure system actually starts, becoming more amplified with more moisture and the models start to pick up it to the last second, meaning the system comes in more negatively tilt as it's kind of ejecting more off to the north now instead of just going northeast. Since it's becoming tilt, so it's going to wrap up more rapidly. It's going to try to push off more to the north and kind of curve way more quicker. It could have more stronger surface winds on the backside of the low. So we could be pushing maybe 30-35 mile an hour gusts if this is the case scenario that does happen last second with this system. So that would increase the probabilities of very low visibility and near whiteout conditions if that does happen. Higher snow ratios, more colder air feeding in behind the system that's overlapping, your 850 millibars. So there's all those things that come into play at last second here. I guess we just have to wait and see, and the models aren't doing so good of a job of picking that up. And I'm really just anxious to see what the herd model's going to say here going into tonight as well. So let's go and jump into a couple of these forecast models here and see what we can pick up on for some details here. We'll start off with the NDFD forecast model. And this is just a 10-1 snow ratio. So like I said, it'll probably be a higher snow ratio than this and what the NDFD forecast model is showing. So the NDFD forecast model wants to pick up anywhere between 4 and 8 inches of snow, some lake enhancement in there, a couple isolated pockets of locally higher amounts like towards 10 or 11 inches of snow, especially there towards Waukegan, to get some lake enhancement up there as well. That's just the NDFD forecast model, right? We go down to like the HER model. But I'm pretty sure her model's not fully out at this point, so we'll go to the NAM 3KM model at this point. Okay. NAM 3KM model coming out right now. Looking very interesting of a run. You can see the moisture coming off the lake, a little bit of lake enhancement there, feeding there to Lake counties there, Cook County, Lake Porter, Porter County into Indiana, yeah, it's Lake County up there across portions of northern Illinois, and then into Kenosha and Milwaukee area as well, some lake enhancement there. But the NAM 3KM is probably off on this run because I don't agree with its coolant and moisture pull there across portions of northern Missouri. It's obviously going to see higher than 4 inches of snow there, so I'm not really going to even look at the NAM model at this point. And the Canadian model here, just doing a really bad job as well. Yeah, see, I'm just not agreeing with these snow totals. What they had before, they're pretty much on track. But given the overall setup, I guess like maybe a hit or miss at this point with the moisture overlap or the system, and if it becomes more negatively tilt, if it's more just southwest to moving northeast system. But if it does try to push off more to the north and pull in more moisture and more cooler on the northwest side, and that northern side as well, we could get FGen set up, more colder air for higher snow ratios. It could lead to higher snowfall total, some lake enhancement as well across northern Illinois, northeast Illinois, which could lead to locally foot in some locations in Cook County, closer to the lake as well. But I'm just not agreeing with a couple of these snowfall totals here on a couple of these models already. I think the European model has been very much on point here with this system and has not backed down from what it's showing here. So if I wasn't agree with any of the models here, I'd probably just still stick with the European model in this. It's been very consistent on its northerly track here. It's not been, pushing around. It hasn't been lessening its totals or making it more. I pretty much agree with the European model here because of how much moisture is being pulled in from the south from this system, and then being overlapped into cooler air. So it has a lot of moisture to work with, has a lot of cold air on the northwest side of the system to work it. It just needs to become more organized, more amped, more negatively tilted. It needs to strengthen more rapidly. If it comes in really disorganized, then that's the only way how I see this system falling apart and not pushing out as much heavier snowfall rates than it was supposed to when it transitioned all that heavier precipitation into like a heavier snow. The system's not fully organized and we can't get the banding that we want to develop, right? Where it feeds in more colder air from the northwest side. So hopefully no dry air contaminates the system from within and kind of weakens it, and it also kind of cuts off the banding from the moisture. We want to get that really nice fully wraparound, and that way we can get the heavier snowfall totals, especially across northern Illinois, portions of Iowa. So I do agree with the European model based on this, because going back here to the watches here, they're extending their watches all the way into portions of central Iowa here, right here. So meaning that's where this fine line here of watches are going to be. So I do agree with what we're seeing here. But just like going back over here to the the forecast model here and the European model, I do definitely agree with its approach here. The GFS model has been off still. The GFS model is really far off, so I'm not looking at the GFS as all. I'm pretty much paying attention to the European model here at this point. Let's just go to Iowa here and focus on the Iowa totals. So you say Iowa picking up some really nice sweet spots of locally to a foot of snow or more. In some locations, widespread 10 to 12 here, or 10 to 13 here across portions of central and eastern Iowa. It's where that big spot of moisture overlaps and transitions into that very heavy wet snow. That could be just right there near the transition line, but as you go like 20 miles inland, or 20 miles away from the actual transition line on the northwest side of that, you'll run into more of a very lighter, fluffier snow because you're running into a lot more colder air. And there is a very sharp line of cold air, and then you go in 20 miles after that and your temperature drops off like 10-15 degrees. So that's what it looks like at this point. Where is my... Nope. Okay, we'll just use this one. See, the system comes in like this and swooshes away across portions of Michigan. So that's a large area of a lot of snow that some people are going to see, anywhere between 4 to 12 inches across multi-states, including northern Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, into northern Missouri, northern Illinois, south central Wisconsin, into basically all of central northern Michigan, and then it goes into Canada. So it's a very large winter storm system. Based on how strong this system comes in and more organized it does, and we might see that at the last second because our past two systems have been overperforming with moisture, and our models have been really bad with the last two systems. So that being said, that this system is just a gamble at this point. It's either big time go Wednesday or it's going to be a bust. So not a bust meaning like no one's going to see snow, but like a bust meaning being an overperformer. So, you know, it has the chances of being an overperformer because it's pulling in a ton of moisture in from the south side. There's a lot of cold air to work with it. Here's just our surface temperatures alone. So systems coming in Wednesday. Look at the sharp line here, the very cold Arctic cold air here. You go from 20s to teens and then into single digits here, right? It's some very cold air to work with, and it's a lot of moisture being pulled in from the south as well. And look at that cold air coming in right behind that. Ooh, it's going to be really cold across portions of northern Illinois Thursday night. The European model is trying to pick up some negative surface temperatures across Wisconsin, diving all the way into northern Illinois. So you guys better buckle down the hatches. It's going to get pretty cold Thursday night into Friday morning, and then the cold air comes back out a little bit, and then another system comes in, and more cold air comes in again. So look at February. It's going to be really active winter weather and a lot of cold air. It keeps invading in between every system at this point. Looking like a very nasty February before we eventually warm up. Alright, let's go over to European model here on the Pivotal website, and I'll show you guys what we're currently seeing here with the actual tracker precipitation. This is the totals you run. See the system ejects out of here across the panhandle. If we get more organized and the moisture is going to cut off, we get that full beautiful wrap, we could get some beautiful banding here. You can see how the system finally starts to take off though. When it hits Indiana, you can see the millibars start to drop. Now, if we can only get that like right there across southern Illinois, where you get it more amplified here, and maybe it slows down, we could get some more enhancing. The winds would be a lot stronger across eastern Iowa and northern and northwest Illinois probably Wednesday night. And you would see blowing and drifting snow on those east to west roads with a strong northeasterly wind or north-northeast wind at this point. But it does show the system finally taking off as it exits from Indiana into northwest Ohio and into Canada, as it becomes a big blockbuster storm up there into Canada probably. But if it could just take off a little bit more earlier, then we could see more backing with the system. So only time will tell to see what actually happens with that. I don't think her model is anywhere close to seeing this yet. Oh, maybe the 18Z is. Alright, here's the 18Z. Let's just zoom in here. So here's the 18Z her. Huh. I really hope dry air doesn't contaminate the system. That would suck. See, the surface temperatures are really nice here for some of that dry, fluffier snow, especially across central eastern Iowa. You're going to get some gusty winds right there with some snow overlapping there on the backside. What the hell just happened? Okay. I don't know what that was. The system just glitched then. Oh, it's because we're looking at the FV3 model. That's why. Okay. Here's the HER model finally. Okay. So the HER model is showing the temperatures widespread. It's showing that freezing rain threat here on the portions of central Missouri, right in the I-44 corridor going into central and southern Illinois, and then eventually into Indiana Wednesday night into Thursday morning. But even though there's freezing rain, like I tell you guys all the time, if your temperatures are like this, where it's like 33 degrees, 32 degrees, if you have freezing rain falling on top of that, it's just not going to be suitable for icing on those pavements. Not till the cold air arrives afterwards, later on that night, and any moisture remaining on trees or surface or pavements, you might see some freeze on after that, but it's just not going to be ideal for freezing onto the pavement, which probably won't see ice storm warnings out of this system. We probably see winter weather advisories across southern, Missouri into southern Illinois explain that there's freezing rain, but will it even accumulate at this point with those temperatures? Probably not, because if they're not below 29 degrees or 30 degrees, they're just not really going to do anything at all. And it's, it just keeps showing that there's going to be freezing rain out of this, but I doubt it. So here's the NAM3 cam, obviously, on the 18Z run, which I'm just looking at this real quick. Yeah, the NAM3 cam comes really disorganized. Really fast-moving, disorganized. So I guess it's just a wait and see that type of situation for tomorrow. Will the models finally all agree on each other and we'll finally know what's going to happen? But, based on everything I'm seeing, I agree with the European model still on positioning and everything that's putting out here since the 12Z update. We go over to the snow totals for the European model here. I agree with this scenario here. Some areas picking up anywhere between 8 and 12 inches. They need to get some lake enhancement across the Cook County areas as well. Off Lake Michigan, where there's a widespread anywhere between 4 and 12 inches that this system can dump. So locally higher maybe in some locations, but that's pushing it maybe with this system, because we still have to figure out how organized the system's actually coming in tomorrow. Will all determine who's going to see what, how much, and how slower the system could go if it does start to rapidly develop more on approach. So I think that's what we have to wait on. I think that's what we have to be patient on, and the models will keep continuing to go back and forth at this point, figure out what the hell it wants to do. But other than that, I agree with the European model here on its current forecast track. So based on everything I'm seeing, I think there's to be a good portion that most people will see 6 inches plus of snow out of this system. There's about like a 40 to 60% chance that most people will see 8 inches, and there's probably like a 30% chance that people will see 10 plus inches out of the system. So that's what I'm thinking here overall, multi-states here. Unless the everything changes overnight tonight, I'll have more updates based on that later on. But other than that, that's all the details I give you guys at this point. But that's basically what I'm seeing right now. So I'll kind of wait and hold off on more specifics. Kind of just wait on the overnight models, and tomorrow morning we'll have another live weather update to catch up on things tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. Thank you guys. Appreciate your guys' time.